Mm. So that's the ID in the chat window, and I'll post the password for today in the chat window also. Yep, and that's the password. So that's for the machine that we're using today. Yeah, you can see someone logged in, Tron. So which Tron? Is that Sven or is that Zane?
That's me.
Ah, okay, I see. So that's Tron. Yeah, and if you get any issues when trying to log in, just let me know, and then we can try to help you. But for now, let's get going with the module that we're studying today. Mm, okay. Yeah, so monitoring servers. So that's what we're starting with today. Monitoring servers. So I think the first question to probably start with would be what's the whole point as a system administrator to you, what's the whole point behind monitoring your servers?
Uh, well, to prevent downtime.
Yeah, okay. So nice one. So to prevent downtime.
Security.
Yeah, security, good one.
Yeah.
Yep. Any other thoughts? Sven, what do you
And
think?
services, of course,
And,
like
and what?
services.
Services, as in what about services?
Well, you need to monitor, like, for example, the DNS services, the Active Directory services. Make sure if you're using Hyper-V or vSensor, you need to monitor the Windows services for those. If they are down, then your entire machine, I mean, your entire service will be down. Whatever is relying on it is going to be down as well.
Yeah, so you're
We
saying the point is for downtime. The reason for doing the monitoring is for downtime, right? Or to prevent
downtime.
downtime. Yeah. So that's basically the first one that I will mention to prevent downtime. The other one is for security. So what other reason, as a system administrator, what other reason will you say this is one of the reasons why I need to monitor my server? If I'm
Maybe,
responsible for a server, what's the reason? Why do I need to monitor it?
well, maybe to prevent minor issues from becoming major issues or something.
Minor issues from becoming major issues. Taiwo, can you expand on that a bit? I understand what you mean, but for the rest of us, so we can understand what you're talking about.
Yeah,
So, how do you
I
prevent minor issues from becoming major issues by monitoring a server? How do you do that?
um well I can use a scenario which we are
Please go
like
ahead. Yeah.
one of the scenarios I can think of was let's say one of our domain controllers were not replicating,
Mm-hmm.
but no one, I mean, it wasn't a major issue then because it wasn't affecting anybody
Yep.
as at that time.
Yep.
But we were able to notice because we checked the logs and we found out that there was something wrong.
Yep.
We were able to fix that.
Yep.
If we didn't fix that then,
Mm-hmm.
it will have become a major issue because some people won't be able to log in, let's say next week.
Yep.
They're
Yep.
trying to log into the other domain controller that is not receiving
Mm-hmm.
the updated information. It
Yep.
won't, issues will arise from there.
Yep.
So that's
Yeah.
another.
To me, I think that's a really great point because one of the whole point. I mean, that's a really really great point because it's not only like we're preventing downtime, but which we'll come to because we need to break down how do we prevent downtime with it. For security, we need to break down one down too. But from preventing minor issues from becoming major issues. So in other words, you're monitoring to detect issues or to like proactive monitoring basically. That's what you're talking about. So
Yeah.
a way to proactively stop major incidents. Yeah, okay, nice one. So proactively um, avoiding major incident. Any other reason why you want to monitor your server as a system admin? Sven, what do you think? What's your thought on this?
Yeah, perhaps when you want to look if you have to get new hardware or so, perhaps your Hyper-V host is full of virtual machines,
Mhm,
and you only know when it's time to upgrade your machine when you're monitoring it.
mhm.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, you're saying to detect issues, basically, still. Is it? Is that the point?
Yeah, it's an issue. It's like detecting bottlenecks, for example. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Perhaps your Hyper-V host is creating too many IOPS, and so you have to connect another shelves with disks,
Mhm.
something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So to detect bottlenecks. Oh, yeah. That's a nice one. So I'll expand on that a bit to just say for troubleshooting purposes. That's one reason why we monitor for troubleshooting purposes. Yeah. So I think these are all like great points. And to say, okay, these are the whole points of monitoring servers. Okay, so here's another question for you. I think this is more from like an architecture standpoint. So, you as a system admin, you have a new server that you just built. How would you go about setting up monitoring on it? What are the things that will be coming to your mind when you're setting up monitoring to say, these are the things I need to monitor. These are the things I need to monitor. These are the things I need to monitor. So what exactly do you follow for that? So um, Zane, you're in charge. So we have a new server, a brand new domain controller. You're in charge of this domain controller. This is your responsibility. Anything goes wrong with this domain controller, you report. So basically, it's your responsibility. And you're setting up this server, so you have to set up monitoring for it as a system admin. So now you're setting up monitoring for it. What are the things that you'll be considering when setting up monitoring? Because you can basically monitor as much as you want, but what are the things that you'll be thinking in your mind? These are the things that I need to monitor. What will help you? What will guide you to come to a decision of these are the things that I need to monitor?
Well, CPU disk,
CPU disk, yeah, and
CPU
yeah, what's the reason for
RAM.
it? Why would you want to do that?
Uh, yeah. And you said it's a domain controller, right? So I
Yep,
would also check DNS, of course, and replication. Uh,
yep. So what? Yeah, perform. So good one, Zane. So Zane is thinking of something. So actually, what I was thinking was you have to have like a framework that you follow. Otherwise, there's a lot of things to monitor, right? You can monitor a lot of things. So, like you said, we can go for CPU, memory. Why not monitor the power supply? Why not monitor? So basically, we can monitor everything that we want to monitor. We can go as deep as we want. We'll see when we get to performance monitor. You can gather as much data as you want on anything that you want. But Zen brought up something important here. He said performance. So that's one thing you'll be looking at as a system admin when you're monitoring any server. So you'll be looking, I want to monitor the performance of this server. So it doesn't matter the things that you need to put on the performance. You may need to put memory, CPU, disk. They all come under performance. I'm not sure if you're getting that. So all those ones come under performance. So you need to monitor performance. So let's put that down, performance. So what else do you need to monitor? What guides your monitoring decisions? So anything else? Anything else that you think? So we want to monitor performance. And under performance, we can put things like CPU, um, RAM, disk, right? So what else?
Mm, security.
Yep, security. Good one. That's another good one. Security. And under security, what would you put under security? What would you be monitoring?
Login. Um,
Login.
login. What am I? Incorrect. I mean, incorrect logins. I mean, if
Yep.
people are, yeah,
Incorrect
incorrect logins.
logins. Anything else that you want to put under security?
Mm, what ports?
Ports.
Yeah, like if there is there any open port or something.
Okay. Sven,
I'm
Zain,
not sure.
what are your
What?
thoughts on this?
Sorry?
I'm asking Zain and Sven. So anything else in this regard, like anything else that you're thinking of? So we've got performance. So if I'm a system admin and I'm asked to set up a server, I'm considering what are the things I need to monitor. Oh, I need to monitor the performance. So under performance, I can put anything I want to put under. So it depends on what's running on it. So Sven says security logs. Yeah, security logs. So yeah, so let's put that there. Security logs. Anything else on the security?
Um,
Performance counters in server manager. Yeah, that comes under, but yeah, we'll come to that. That comes under performance. Yep. Oze, I'll give you the ID and the password of the server so you can see the one we're using today. Happy New Year, by the way. Good to see you again.
Thanks. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Sorry I'm late.
I know it's all right, man. It's all right. Okay, so we've got two now. We've got performance, we got security. What else? So, and Zen, you're currently a system admin. What else guides your decisions as to what to monitor?
Well, see, for Active Directories as an example, we monitor certain things that they're very important for the client. We monitor DFS, DFS replication, DNS, DNS server.
Yeah.
We monitor the net log on, make sure there is no problem on it, and we also monitor the remote procedure call, the RPCs,
Mhm.
the security account managers, and we monitor certain event IDs specifically for certain things like failed logon. So we need to make sure how many field logons are happening within the Active Directory. I mean, there's a lot of things to talk about. I just want to give the guys like the time to let them like really think about it. I know certain things from my own network, but I'm more interested to what others are doing.
Yeah, actually, like Sven brought up something important again. Said availability is one, which is a good one. Actually, to mention this, to mention where I'm actually going, there's a framework for monitoring servers. I'm not sure if anyone knows that there's a framework. Do you know there's an RFC for monitoring servers?
Of course, there is
Yeah.
one. Yes,
So
of
there's a
course.
framework for monitoring servers.
System admin.
Yeah, has anyone ever heard of FPCAS before? FPCAS. So let's go. So you're on the computer, right? You're on the server that I'm using. So if you go
Mhm.
FPCAS, well, not this kind, not this kind of FPCAS, but let's go FPCAS monitoring. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is that there's a framework behind all this. Um, let's see, is it maybe not FPCAS, maybe FC, um, ah, it's my, yeah, maybe FC pass. Okay, FCAPS. I saw something there. Okay, maybe FCAPS, FCAPS. Yeah, here we go, FCAPS. So yeah, okay. Is the ISO telecommunication management network model and framework for network management. So this gives like a framework for network or system management. And basically, this is what it follows. If you're going to be setting up monitorings, you're monitoring five aspects of your system. You're monitoring faults, you're monitoring configuration, you're monitoring accounting, you're monitoring performance, and you're monitoring security. So everything else, all the things that Zane has mentioned, like if you're having Active Directory, you have to monitor replication, DNS, DFRS, all those ones comes under this framework. You get the point?
Mhm.
So basically, if I'm thinking, if I've been instructed to monitor a server, I'm going to be thinking, okay, what do I need to monitor in terms of performance for this server? What do I need to monitor in terms of faults for this server? What do I need to monitor in terms of configuration for this server? What do I need to monitor in terms of accounting for this server? What do I need to monitor in terms of security for this server? So that gives me a nice framework. So it's sort of like the ITU framework, the reason why we use framework in IT management. It gives me a nice framework that I can follow whenever I've been given a task to monitor anything or to manage anything. So I have a framework that I'm following. and that makes everything really nice and simple because there's a standard framework that I follow with this. So I'm not sure if that is clear at all, or if anyone wants to add to that. So what's your thought on that? Like Taiwo, what's your thought on that? I'm not sure if Taiwo is still there. What's your thought on that? Hello? Hello? Hello, Taiwo. Can't hear you anymore. I'm not sure we can hear Taiwo. Okay, yeah, let's just Sven, what's your thought on that? Like in terms of like having a framework to follow for your system management practices.
Yeah, we actually do this exact same thing. We follow a framework. We call it a template that we just follow. It has to be the same thing for each server. We don't, unless that server has a different functionality, then we add certain services to it.
Yeah,
But that's the way how it should be.
yeah, yeah. Because that way it also helps because it's very easy as system admins to miss something out. But if there's a framework, so it's part of like the whole reason in IT management, the whole reason for using things like ITU. And the whole reason is because once you have like a framework, usually you have different views of things. So different views of things have come together to produce this framework. So usually it's like more complete than if I'm trying to uh, come up with it by myself. Okay, so let's move on there. So we said, okay, so under this one, we've got availability, and of course, if we follow the FCAPS framework, we've got fault that we're monitoring. What would you put under fault if you're monitoring something like fault? Your hardware will come under fault, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, things like you have to monitor the hardware of the server and all that kind of stuff. So they all come under fault. Um, we got security, we got performance, we got configuration. What will be under configuration? Zane, what example of what example do you think will be under configuration?
Uh, So configuration, like you have a certain threshold that you want to maintain for like DNS or something, and then you just want it to stay there. If that threshold go up or down, for example, disk users, like for example, disk users,
Hmm.
that can be under configuration. You want it to just to be at a certain level. If it goes lower than that, or CPU, if you go higher than certain level, then hey, send me a monitoring email letting me know that it's not as it should be.
Yeah, yeah. That's still like part of like the whole monitoring. But under configuration, I'll put things like your certificate.
Sure.
Yeah. So anything else that you think would need to come under configuration? Like in terms of because configuration, when you think of configuration, you're thinking about um these are the things that are part of like the system working, but they are part of our configuration that we will need to monitor if they change or if they're about to change as part of like the configuration of the system. So maybe we've configured this server to be this way, but if it changes or if
Yeah,
it,
the
yeah,
server is, like you said, that's one of those that should be in there.
yeah. I'm trying to think of something else. I know under networking you have things like, you know, your if you're running configuration changes, you want to know as a network admin or something. But I'm trying to think of system administration. What else will come under configuration that if anything changes in your configuration, you want to know? I'm trying to think of one. And Sven, any thoughts? Or Oze, do you have any thoughts of anything that will be under configuration?
I can't think of anything actually. I know certificate was a good one, but can't think of anything.
Yeah, I can't really, I can't really think of much in the configuration. Okay, then we got performance. So FPCAS. Yep. Okay, good one. So we can use that as a way to like guide monitoring decisions and all that. Okay, so as part of this 7411 model, sorry, the 7411 module, this particular module of this course, Microsoft has some things that they want us to focus on and understand the basics of how they work. And the first one is Task Manager. And these are the things that we'll talk about today. We got our event logs, and we've got Perfmon, reliability, resource monitor, and that. So those are part of the things that Microsoft wants us to focus on in this module of the 7411. So let's start with Task Manager. So like normally like Task Manager, what will you like normally use Task Manager for, like as a system admin? Like do you will you consider it like a tool for troubleshooting or a tool for monitoring?
Of course, yes. You can use it to check for the IO, also to know which service is using a higher CPU or higher RAM usage, or input-output disk, which one is like putting too much pressure on your drive. So you can do that also. And also, if you want to figure out what's the, sorry, yeah, you're cutting off. Can I hear you?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. I can
Yeah,
hear you
yeah.
clearly. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I said. Like you can use Process Explorer to use all of this, or Task Manager, which is the same thing.
Yeah.
Actually, I prefer Process Explorer. I don't like Task Manager much. Not a
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah. But do you use it more for like monitoring or mainly just for troubleshooting if something comes up?
Yeah, just for troubleshooting. You
Yeah.
cannot use it for monitoring. It doesn't give you much information.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I myself like I'll basically go for, if I want to go for something like Task Manager, I'll say Task Manager is more for something like you've had a report of something not functioning properly. You want to see what's going on the server quickly as possible. Okay, let's minimize all this and let's go Task Manager at the top here. Okay,
So,
actually, let's do it this way. Does anyone want to take over and just walk us through Task Manager and just describe it for us? Anyone wants to do that? Anyone? Zane, you want to go ahead and do that? So we got Task Manager. So just walk us through Task Manager.
I'm in the Mac. Hold on. Let me move to the Windows.
Oh, that's true.
Uh,
You mentioned that you're currently working a lot with
yeah,
Mac.
yeah. I have a Windows server here, so let me just use my Windows machine. I have a machine. Give me a second. Let me find my team viewer, if
Okay.
you don't mind.
Yeah, no problems. Yeah, sure. Okay. Um. Okay, Ven, what about you? Like, do you want to take over and just?
Yeah, just give me like 5 minutes. I need to download team viewer, if you
Yeah,
don't
no
mind.
problems. Yeah, absolutely no problems. Yeah.
Yeah, you can move on to someone so we don't have to waste time.
Yeah, we'll let Sven carry on and just quickly. So Sven, the whole goal is for you to describe to us your understanding of Task Manager, the interesting things that you as a system admin, just help the rest of us to understand. So you don't necessarily have to go into details, but just the things that you have found to be useful and the reason
Well,
why
the
you
thing
found
that
them to be
I find
useful.
to be useful with the task manager is, hold on, let me see if I can make this thing. Let's see. Okay, here. Can I check control?
Yeah, you
So
can.
yeah, you're gonna go to detail. This is the most important part of it, and then you have to look at for like CPU usage, like what's one the highest one. If you don't know certain thing like this because they're nested, they're like nested. For example, I can show you something that it's nested here. Like the like WinLog on, it might have nested things within it. You cannot figure those stuff out within Task Manager. So you need to actually rely on Process Explorer. It's a utility by sysinternals. It's a Microsoft tool that's gonna give you way more information on those things. And I also use the Process Explorer to figure out, like, for example, you wanna like kill the MMC. You don't want this to run, so you just figure out what the PID of it, and then you can just run a command against it, or you can just right-click and delete it if you want to. But knowing the PID will help you much to script it, to make it much easier for you down in the future.
Yeah.
And then also you can use the Process Explorer, like Task Manager, for services. See, it's like there are certain services here where they're like up and running. This is a new feature with Windows Server 2012 R2 that wasn't in 2008, where you can monitor services from here instead of using. Can I see forward? Okay, does it work? Let me see. Yep, it does. Sorry. So all your local services, you have almost identical thing here on your task manager. For example, one thing that happened to one of my clients, which is the SNP, this one, like the SNMP trap that we use it to monitor certain things,
Yep.
it was done. So you want to actually figure out why is it done or why it started. So you can use a certain command to just go ahead, like right click on it and then just start it if it's done. Just this is like some of the examples, but you can do it on here. It's the same thing. You can restart it, start it, and then also like for the prints, like this print spooler. Sometimes the printers are not working. It's not printing. So you just go to the print spooler and you start it. I mean, just a simple task you can use the
Yep.
services part of. For details, this is the most important one of all of them. And then also there is the performance one. This won't help you much, I'll be honest with you, even though you see all this graph and it looks cool and everything. There is another utility within Server 2012 called Perfmon or Performance Monitor. That's what you should use specifically if you want to kind of troubleshoot why a certain process is going higher than normal. For example, why is this task manager here is taking 4%? Why is doing that?
Zen, yeah, actually, if you carry on, just carry on. Like you can start Perfmon and just help us with how to use Perfmon and just show us how to use Perfmon. So you can feel free, yeah. So if you carry on and yeah.
I don't know.
So in terms
I'm
of like
I'm
why
a Mac.
Perfmon is better
Give me a
than this
second.
one.
I work on Windows in my Windows. I don't work in Mac. So it's kind of like a little bit confusing. Just give me a second.
Yep, no problems. Because that way, because that's like one of the things in terms of like us sharing knowledge and
So
sharing
this is the
experience.
performance monitor.
Yep.
Guys, I apologize. I didn't show you where you can find it because, to be honest with you, just a command guy, so I don't know where is it located. All I know is like if you want it, just type Perfmon and it comes. Otherwise, you can go to control panel and search for it. So if
Yep.
you do a control panel,
Mm,
sorry, I made a mistake, typo.
no problem.
And then you can search for it over here, and you can just find it.
Yep.
And it's gonna be under freeze. Nope, didn't find it.
And it's the spelling, I think, performance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't
I know
see
it's
where.
alright. Ah, yeah, that's true. This is a bit small. Sorry about that.
No, it's not your fault. It's my screen that it's small. I can't see it. Anyway, let's
Yeah.
just move. You can just find it over there. This is what the performance monitor is. This
Yeah.
is like really an amazing tool. I'm actually a huge and a big fan of it. You need to learn how to use it, and you're gonna need it a lot when you're gonna start troubleshooting, especially with IIS servers. When you have like a web server, you're gonna use it quite a lot. You need to figure out why certain, like for example, just a simple thing. You have an application that's called. Let me go to details. This is, if you guys don't know what DWM is, but you have DWM, and DWM is using like 100% of your CPU. So what you need to do, you need to create a defined, you created a user, a defined monitoring tool, new data collectors. Then you're just gonna call it whatever DWM. Remove that one next. The directory where you're gonna save it. I actually just prefer to not have clutter. I always save on temp. What's happening? So,
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me, guys? Yeah, sorry. I think I dropped out again. Sorry about that. Yeah. So carry on. Yeah, carry on, Zain.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to show guys like one TechNet article that's
Yeah.
really helpful. It will show them like what's
Mm-hmm.
how things are working.
Mm-hmm.
I have it saved on my. Uh, here we go. Here we go. So it's TechNet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
TechNet monitoring. So it's related to SQL, so it doesn't show you specifically for using the here. Uh, so this one is always like although it's like in a SQL, but it's just gonna show you what things that you have to look for. You need to look for what the it's cutting off.
No, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you clearly. Can we all hear Zen clearly?
No, the connection to the server
I
is
can hear, or
you can click.
just connecting to.
To the server. Oh, I posted it again in the chat window for you to connect. I posted the ID in the chat window so you can connect again. What about you, Sven? Can you hear Zen clearly? And can you see the server clearly?
Hold on, let me get to my Windows server, my Windows machine. It will be much easier actually
Mm.
than having to do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Zen is still there. Sven, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Yeah, can you hear Zen clearly?
Sorry?
Can you hear Zen clearly? Can you hear what Zen is saying clearly?
Oh, no, I can't hear him.
As in what Zen was saying, can you hear it clearly? As, as in is the audio clear? The audio.
No, I can hear him clearly.
Ah, okay. I was just
Yeah, I can
wondering.
hear him
Yeah.
clearly.
Yeah, I can also hear him clearly. I'm not sure why Sven could not hear clearly
I
Oh,
can hear him clearly. It's just
hello.
that I could not see what he was saying.
on the server. Yeah. Hello, Zen.
Yeah, yeah. The
Hello?
connection keep getting lost to the server. Um,
Yeah, that's the same thing I'm facing also. My
Because
connection,
keep
no, it's kicked me out again.
are you sure? Which TeamViewer version are you using? Hello, Taiwo. Ah, okay. I'm not sure why. Yeah. Hello.
okay, guys, this is the article that I wanted you to see.
Yeah.
Uh, so you should definitely like bookmark this one and read it
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of questions, a lot of things that you're gonna use this one for.
Okay.
It's called it's TechNet Library CC722148.
Yeah. Let me post it
I
in
will
the chat
bookmark it for
window.
you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If you post it in the chat window also, so that the guys can click to it on their computer. So actually,
Yeah.
I will just type it in the chat window for you guys. Okay. So Zen, so we're carrying on. So performance monitor now. So what's the basis? Like what do you find interesting like in terms of using it rather than using um task manager that you mentioned?
Yeah, well, you use it for monitoring, like certain application in a certain time, they just spike your CPU and make your server unusable, or also like your network just get cut off in a certain hour. So you use the performance monitoring to kind of monitor like certain checks. For example, for CPU, you're gonna just go like if this if you are aware what the CPU that was causing it, which you can find through your event viewer, but if you don't, then you just go do a check for whatever application that's using over the 80% of your CPU, and then when you find that application, then create a log. So the log will help you to identify what the problem is.
Yep. Okay. Thanks very much for that. That was
So
useful.
that's what we use the performance monitor for.
Yeah. So that was useful. Okay. So is there any other thing that you want to point out in terms of task manager?
No, there is
Yeah.
nothing else I can point out. But if somebody has anything else that want to show us, yes, please. We'd
Sven,
love.
Sven, is there anything that you want to in terms of task manager, the things that you have
I
found?
just, like I pointed, you just need to figure out what the PID is. That's something that's very important to you that you wanted to know. And also you can like just, I mean, it's a basic stuff to search through by CPU users, which one the highest in the memory, which one is the highest. And then if you don't know what this name is, you can read it in the description. But sometimes there are certain viruses that they're hidden under Windows processors. So you need to actually use Process Explorer to figure those things out. You cannot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
perhaps when
Yes,
you
Sven. So what about you? Is there anything that you have found to be useful for you within task manager?
yeah, perhaps when you are on a terminal server, you
Yeah.
can also look which user is using a lot of CPU or memory, for example.
Yeah.
And as Zane already mentioned, you can start and stop and restart services.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot change the start type. Like you cannot disable a service.
Yeah.
For example, this could be a question in a test. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
you have to go to services like here, and there you can tell the service to set it to manual or disable it. You can do it in Task Manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, perhaps CPU. I think you can change it that you can see the cores.
Mm-hmm.
You can switch it to the logical processors, but perhaps this machine just has one CPU or so.
Yeah.
So we can't switch. I just has one core, but normally you can look at every core here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And most oftenly you can switch to the resource monitor over here, very
Yeah.
convenient way,
Mm-hmm.
and there you have a whole bunch of things you can monitor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, like this one, I really find like even just this one, I still find this one like useful because like
Yeah.
this one, yeah.
Yeah,
I,
you can also select the columns. That's not obvious normally.
yeah.
So you
Yeah, I mentioned that because the PID is not mentioned if you are on server 2008 R2 or Windows 7. So it's really something that you have to check through your send command.
like the path name could be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, to see okay where's the application living.
Yeah.
Yeah, can be nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you can just right click on it and then open folder. That also will show you where the application is living.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is absolutely true. I mean, for me, I think under performance, I find this one still useful still because this can give me like a quick information of the CPU, for example. What kind of CPU is running on this server? What's the layer one cache? What's the layer two cache? What's the layer three cache? What's the speed of the CPU? You know, how many logical processors? Like if I've got this one, if I go to this host machine here and task manager, and if I go performance, it can quickly tell me, well, I've got a computer that has um, 12 cores. So it's got two processors in it, 6 cores each, and it's 12 cores, and it can give me like just this basic information about the memory, basic information about the Ethernet adapter, basic information about the memory that's on this computer. And also the other one that I find like really useful is the one that you just mentioned now about the columns, because this can be really useful like in terms of the columns that you can actually. So if I go select columns, yeah. So in terms of like the the columns that I can actually bring up, Like maybe something like this will be useful, like maybe non-page pool or page pool. Um, Page pool um, will be pools of the memory that the operating system is using, but it's something that can be paged. Whereas non-page pool means this is memory that the operating system is using that can't be paged. It has to be run from RAM all the time, and I can see what that amount is for this server. And this one, I can use this one to quickly just find out like what amount of IO read or IO write, even though it won't go into details like Perfmon, like Zen mentioned. But I still find it like really useful in terms of like just to quickly find out what's going on a server. And of course, the things you mentioned about services and users, yeah, and then processes and this one. So yeah, so I think that about covers like the main things about task manager um, that one needs to know. Okay, so the other one, which is a bit of a longer one, is Event Viewer. So if with its Event Viewer, and the reason for this is because Microsoft wants us to not only know like the basics in this module of Event Viewer in terms of with a server, but they also want us to know the basics of things like event subscription, event collector service, and all that. So let's go a bit in terms of Event Viewer now. So let's cancel all this and let's go Event Viewer. So let's go Event Viewer. Come on. Here we go. Event Viewer. So Event Viewer. So what's your basic understanding of Event Viewer? Like Taiwo, what's your basic understanding of what Event Viewer is, the benefits to you as an administrator, or the key information to you as an administrator? So what do you think?
Well, if
Yes.
it's the first place I go if anything is going wrong on the server. Well, most of the logs are in there. If there is a problem with any application that has been installed on the server, that's the first place I go. Because, excuse me, there's application log, I think there's security log. It logs success failures and success and failed logs there. So if there's anything going on the network, that's the first place I go. Because there I can find out if things are running successfully or I've messed something up
Yeah.
or something. That's where I'll go first.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely right. Like actually, like according to the module, what it said was so event view, right, is basically like the basics of event viewers for any system that you're using, Linux, Mac, anything, is you have a log, and then you have certain applications and certain processes and certain components on your computer. So those components and applications and processes, they are performing certain functions, and as they are performing certain functions, um, depending on whether it's successful or failed or anything that happens, they write events into certain logs. So an event happened. You did disk defragmentation. It ran successfully. So the disk defragmenter application writes an event in a log and says this event was performed successfully. You started up Windows, it started to load up some DLFs and some modules and all that. So Windows began to write into the event into the log to say this event happened at this time, this event happened at this time, this event happened at this time. So that's like the general basics of in terms of like logging. So in Microsoft, there are two main groups of event logs that you see. Does anyone know what the two main groups are? Anyone? Two main groups of event logs on Microsoft servers.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. Anyone know what the two main groups are? I just lost my
Eh,
mention now.
Hello?
Hello. Yeah, I'm hearing.
Are you talking of like the application logs?
Yeah, so those one come under, yeah, so let's put this one back again. So let's go, yeah, so those ones still come, those ones are under, uh, is someone using the mouse at the moment?
Sorry?
Okay.
No, my network is breaking. I can't really hear you well.
Sorry. Can you hear me clearly now, guys?
I can hear you now.
I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry about the two main groups of
You can just
log.
do Command Z. You can come back to where you were.
What?
I'm sorry, Windows Z, and it turns you back where you were before, like all the writing that you've been
Oh,
typing.
okay, yeah. Let me, I'm not sure what happened to it. Let's go. No, it didn't go back. It didn't go back at all.
Control Z.
Yeah, Control Z. I'm using Control Z now. It's not. It's gone back to this.
Control Y.
What?
Control Y.
Yeah. So yeah. So that just writes this one's back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
I'm not
sorry.
sure what happened with it, but it's all right. Okay. So two main groups of logs in Event Viewer. So the Windows. I think there's the Windows logs. Then there's one for called application and services. So that's that. So does anyone know what the main differences are between these two groups? So under this one, we'll find these two main logs. We have the Windows logs and then application and services logs. So this one is just a view, but this one I like logs. So we have under the Windows log group, we have application, security, system, setup, forwarded event. Under application and services log, we have more specific application logs under that. Does anyone know what the main differences are between the Windows logs and the application and services logs? Anyone?
I think the application logs are applications that those are services that were installed
Yep. Yeah, good one.
after. I mean, after they are not the default logs that
Yeah,
come.
yeah,
When you install an application, you get those logs.
yeah,
Something.
yeah. So that's absolutely correct. So for example now, assuming on this machine, if I were to have, let's say, a Cisco VPN client installed, Cisco VPN client will actually create its own separate log, and you see it under application and service log. So you go into Server Manager, you install a row. Hey, sorry, I dropped out again. Yeah, sorry, I dropped out again. Sorry. Yeah. So if you have like maybe like the Cisco AnyConnect client, if you install it on this machine, it will actually create its own separate log and start logging its own event into that log. The same thing if you go to Server Manager and you were to install a row, like maybe the DNS row, the DFS row, the any row you install, your IIS row. So once you install that row, it also creates its own log in here and it starts logging its own event in there. Whereas Windows logs are the interactions of the applications with the operating system, and then the operating system logs them inside these logs. So from my own understanding, this one is more of like the operating system logs. So even if you go on the application, it's more of like the operating system logging something regarding an application. Whereas on the application and services, you have the applications or the services themselves, their own direct logs themselves. So those are like the two main groups. So under the application log, what kind of logs or what kind of events will you find under the application logs? So anyone knows what kind of event will we find under application logs?
Mm.
Anyone, any idea?
If an application fails to start,
Yeah,
or if it crashes or something, that's where you find it.
yeah, yeah. That's true. Yeah. Any other thing that we'll find in the application logs? So I think it's just general interaction of applications with the operating system. So those are the things that we'll find in under application log. So we'll have general interactions of applications, any applications that you have installed with the operating system. What about security logs? What are the kind of events that we'll find under security log?
Log in, log
And
out.
then
Yeah, login, logout. Yeah. Anything else?
Failed logins. Valid or invalid, like somebody tried to log in and it failed, so you can find those as well in there.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. So to put it simply, security log is if you have whatever policy that you've configured for auditing. So security log is anything that you've configured for auditing in Windows. This is where you find the logs. So you can go under Windows, either local group policy or domain group policy, and you can configure certain auditing policies and say, I want to audit this object. If anybody accesses this object, I want you to record an event. If anybody tries to access this object, I want you to record an event. If anybody tries to access it and failed, I want you to record it. If anybody accesses it and they're able to do something with this object, I want you to log it. So that object could be a file, that object could be a folder, that object could be many things. So the events that you find under security are events relating to your auditing policy. Whether local policy or domain policy, they are events relating to your auditing policy or your audit policy within your environment. And what about setup? Setup should be pretty straightforward. What kind of events do we find on the setup?
uh, any installation
Yeah,
program.
exactly. So anything that has to do with installations, including updates, like if you're installing Microsoft updates and all that. So all those information, you find them on the setup here. Anything that has to do with installing something on the machine, you find under the setup logs here. Because it's one of those things that many people, like for example, you can always come here, you can always see where these logs are, because these ones are individual logs. You can right click on them and go under properties, and it will show you exactly where this log is located. So this log is located in this particular location. So because this is one thing that could be easily ignored by administrators, because many administrators just go under application security and maybe system. But if you have installed an update and you want to find out what's going on with the update you've installed, setup log is a good one for you. Because anything that has to do with installations of components or anything Windows updates, you find all those under setup log. So what about the system log? What kind of event
Hardware.
hardware?
Yeah,
Mm,
hardware
mm,
related to Windows. I mean, go to it, it'll shows you exactly what.
yeah, yeah. Let's click on it. Yeah. Um, yeah. So hardware. So what else? What else do you think? Like on the system,
Like hardware, like hard drive failures, and
drivers.
not like the DFS for you as well over there. It shows in like DFS
Yeah.
services started or not.
System to me basically has to do system. Think of whenever I hear the system log, think of the operating system. That's what it's talking about. It's talking about events that has to do with the operating system. So this is not talking about applications. So third party applications, actually you won't find their event on the system log. So this has to be with events that concern the Windows operating system itself.
Oh, okay.
So that's what system log is for. So it's just for the system itself, for the Windows OS itself, the drivers. So that's where it can be related to hardware, the drivers itself, because you can find hardware events specifically here on the applications and services logs. But yeah, so system log has to do with events that has to do with the Windows operating system. That's where you find it. And then forwarded events, which we'll discuss extensively about. Forwarded event. What can anyone explain the concept of forwarded event? What's the whole concept behind it? Anyone? Sven, what do you think? Forwarded event. What is that for? What is
Well,
that?
you can use forward event if you want to remotely monitor that services on a different computer to figure out like what's going on with your events in your Windows machine
Can
server.
yeah, can you break it down a bit more? How does that work? Like forwarded events, like how exactly does that work?
So it's like if you click on connect to another computer, you see over here. So if you connect to a different computer, you can just get all this event from there. Or also, like you can just click on a search and probably event right here. We don't use it much in my job, but
Yeah.
probably.
I know, yeah, exactly. Which is the reason why I hacked, because this is one thing that many people don't use, but it's part of the module, and it's a big part of this module, of the
Yeah, yeah.
7.11 module.
I know probably what is it for, but it just for like if you want certain application, for example, this one.
Yeah.
Just follow.
Isn't it when you have a subscription of a log
Yeah,
file of
exactly.
another
So
server?
that's where the whole concept of
Yeah, yeah. So
subscription
here,
comes in.
subscription.
Yeah. So
So
can
you
you,
have to do the subscription part. It'll do that for you. I just want to mean the whole little bit.
yeah. So Sven, do you want to break that down a bit more in terms of forwarded events? So you mentioned subscription now. What does it mean by subscription?
Like if you
Like,
subscribe to certain event ID, like event ID over here. Oh,
Ah,
now when you have a subscription, you can install a log server, and the log server has a subscription to all the log files of his client, so to say, and there you have one place, one log server where you can view the log files of all the other servers. I think that's the idea of
yeah.
this.
Okay. So that's absolutely, I mean, the things that you've both mentioned, that's absolutely correct. Does Taiwo want to add anything in terms of forwarded events and subscriptions and all that?
No, I've never ever. I used to see it, but I've never used it.
Yeah, let's talk about that a bit. The reason is because it's part of this module, and it's a big part of this module that Microsoft mentioned. So the whole concept is this. I mean, anyone if you worked on Linux and all that, you've heard of a concept called the syslog concept. So
Yeah.
syslog is a protocol. It's a popular protocol. It has an RFC defined for it, and it's where you have a server that is your syslog server. That is your syslog server. And you have this server. So syslog uses a protocol called syslog, and the port number that it uses is UDP 514. So the concept of this is it's a client-server relationship. So you have a main server that is your syslog server, and you have all the other servers in your environment, they are the clients. So all these other servers, they will have a syslog agent on them. So on this one, there will be a syslog agent. Syslog agent. On this one, there will be a syslog agent. Syslog agent. On this one, there will also be a syslog agent. Ah, I got muted. Yeah, I muted myself. I got muted by Sven, he says. Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, I
we
can
can.
hear
Ah,
you.
okay, yeah, sorry. Yeah, okay. So no problem, no problems, man. I was wondering, like he says, got muted by Sven. So we have syslog agents running on these servers, and what will happen is, events are going on. These servers have logs under them. Under Linux, it's usually under var log that you find your logs, and then these logs, as they are being logged into the computer, the logs have been copied over to your syslog server. So that way, if something were to go on with your computer, you can still find out what went wrong because your logs are on this server here. So it's like a central location to collect all your logs, and this can be really useful. For example, you want to find out, oh, how many, maybe you installed an update, and that update is creating a particular event error for all your servers. So you want to find out how many servers have had this event ID in the past 5 minutes. So you can just go to the syslog server and write a syntax and check out how many servers have this event ID within the past 5 minutes, and you can see a list of all those servers. So that's the whole concept. But the thing is, Microsoft is different from Linux. Microsoft doesn't support syslog. So what they've done is they've come up with their own version of syslog, which is basically what they've what they've called forwarding event. So forwarding event works this way. It's a client server relationship also. So you have a client and you have a server. The client is called the forwarder. So that is the server that is forwarding the event. So the client is called the forwarder. The server is called the collector. So that's the whole basis. It doesn't use syslog protocol or use UDP 514. Instead, it uses HTTP and HTTPS for transferring events between the forwarder and the collector. So basically, there are two types. So basically, what the whole transfer is called a subscription. That's the transfer of the messages between the forwarder and the collector is called a subscription. And there are two types of subscription. There is the collector initiated subscription, which is basically the collector talks to the forwarder and the collector says, hey, any event that you want to transfer to me. So this is collector initiated. The collector goes and talks to the forwarders or to the servers on your network and say, hey, do you have any event you want to forward to me? That one says, yeah, I've got events I want to forward to you. Here are the events. Or you can have forwarder initiated or what they call source initiated. And that is basically the forwarder contacting the collector by itself saying, I've got event I want to transfer to you. Can I transfer them to you? So that is forwarder or source initiated. So that is like, so think of this forwarder, this whole concept of forwarded event as Microsoft's version of syslog. So you cannot by default use syslog on a Microsoft system because it doesn't support it. There are ways to tweak around it. You can download third-party agents, but Microsoft at this moment doesn't have an inbuilt syslog agent. So, but they have their own version called the forwarder and the collector. So in that case, what you do is in this situation that we're talking about, you have a log here. So this log is located in the same location where all the other logs are located. So it's located under system root system32 win event logs. You have a log here called forwarded event. So let's say I want this server to be my collector server. This server will be the collector server. There are two things I need to do. These are important for the exam. There are two things I need to do on this server because this server will be the one that will be collecting event for the other computer. There are two things I need to do on it. Number one thing I need to do on it is I need to enable the Windows event collector service. So there's a service on this called the Windows event collector service. So if I go on this server and I go under services, so let's go, sorry. Yeah, let's just go. Okay, let's go services and let's bring this up. So there's this particular service that's responsible for collecting events, and that service is called the Windows Event Collector Service. So Windows, here we go. You can see this service here. It says the service manages persistent subscriptions to events from remote sources that supports the WS management protocol, blah, 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 blah. It's just a way to say this is the service that collects events from other computers. So you have to, first of all, start this service. And of course, you have to set it to automatic if you want it to start whenever you restart the computer. So you have to start this service first. And the number two thing you have to do here is this. So let's go back to our whiteboard. So number one thing is you have to start the service. Number two thing is you have to add this server to the event log readers group on the forwarders. So what does that mean? I have a server here that I want to be forwarding events to this collector. So I have to go on this server and there's a local group called event log readers. So what I need to do is I have to go and add this computer account, or if I want to use a special user account, I can use it also. But you can also use just this computer account and add it into this group on every machine that this group will be collecting event from. So those are the two things you have to do on the collector. On the forwarder, there's also something that you need to do. Number one thing you have to do on the forwarder is you also need to
Uh,
enable. Hey, carry on.
can I add one point?
Yeah, sorry, please go
When
ahead.
you want to monitor the domain controllers, there are no local groups,
Yep.
and then you have to use domain built-in group.
Yeah,
This is just an additional point.
yeah. So that's a faster way of adding. You mean a faster way of adding this computer to this group? You mean?
No, actually, when you want to look at the logs of a domain controller,
Yeah.
there are no local groups, and then you have
For
to
event log readers.
yes, and then
Seriously,
you
I
have
didn't know
to
that. Let me check that.
and
I never knew that. That's one of the reasons why we're doing this. Let's see. Computer management. Let's bring up computer management and let's see. Event log readers. It's a local, I know, no, it's a local group. It's like the remote desktop users group. I know that, but let's see. Events, come on, computer. You have one processor, but you can be faster. Come on. Yeah, it's like I'm gonna take I'm gonna take a long time. Yeah, come on. You can do it. Yeah, come on. I think.
it's still the disk issue, right?
Yeah, I think so. The server's tried this. Let's see. Okay, uh, okay, here we go. Yeah, I can see.
No local groups, right?
No, no local group. Yeah, that's absolutely true. No local group.
Yeah, yeah,
But what
there are
about like the
no.
normal domain group? Is there like a domain? Is there like a
Yeah,
domain group?
yeah.
Yeah,
In the built-in folder,
yeah, built-in folder.
OU container, it's a container
Yeah,
built-in,
yeah.
and there should be event log
Oh, here we
readers.
go.
So
Yeah,
on domain controllers, you have to use this
absolute.
group.
Oh, okay,
Could also
got
be a
it.
nice point in a
Nice,
Microsoft
nice,
test.
nice. Yeah, nice to bring that up, Sven. That's very, very
Mm.
useful. So for if you're using domain servers, just member servers, you have to add the computer account or whatever account you'll be using to collect the event into this group. But if it's a domain controller, you have to do what Sven mentioned and go under the domain group event log readers and add the account here under event log
Okay.
reader.
Sorry. So that's if I want the domain control. That's if I want the domain controller to monitor all the logs. I'll
Not to
use this
monitor
one.
all the logs. So again, let's go back a bit. Let's go slowly a bit. So this collector, it's not your domain controller. This collector is a server that you want machines to be forwarding events to.
Too.
So this would be
Okay.
like your central log server. So all the logs that are on the other machines, you're saving it on this server. So there are
Okay.
lots of benefits to that. What benefits can you think of regarding that? Why would I, as an administrator, why would I want to have a single server collecting logs from all my other server? Why would I want to do something like that?
Centralization. I mean, easy to read logs and easy to find out if anything goes wrong.
Yeah,
Just from one point.
yeah. All those are really good reasons. Any other reason that you think of, Zane and Sven, any other reason why you want to have a central server to be collecting logs in your environment? No problem, Sven.
Performance, like one of them is performance, and also for to have create a sort of okay, I can't think of that word on top of my head,
Yeah.
which is a baseline. Like you want to have a baseline on what your server should be. If anything that doesn't fit on that baseline, the collector will notify you about it.
Yeah, that's another good reason. Yeah, that's another good reason. Any other reasons, Ven? Why would you want to even think of this idea of having a central server that has that is like the collector for your environment, where all your other servers are sending their logs to this server? Why would you want something like that? Any reason that you can think of. So Taiwo's mentioned maybe troubleshooting centralization. Zen, me Zen mentioned that it could be useful if you want to establish like a baseline for servers in your environment. So you have like a central place where you can establish it from. Any other thing that you think?
Yeah, well, it's like a dashboard, right? You come to work in the morning and then you see, okay, my infrastructure is working well or so, and
Yep,
perhaps you can also look at the dependencies
yep,
between servers very, very quickly.
yep. Exactly. So that's the other thing is that you can correlate, for example, let's say an attacker were to come into your machine, right, Tayo? And you're
Right.
like, oh, an attacker has compromised an account named maybe attacker one. That's the name of the account that the attacker is using. Now the attacker has logged into different servers. But if you have separate event logs, you have to go into server one and check the event and see has attacker one logged into this machine, right? Then you go into server two and say has attacker one logged into this server. Then you go into server three and say has attacker one logged into this server. Or you can either have all the logs in one place, and you can say list all the servers that this user account attacker one has logged into for the past 24 hours. And it will list all the servers for you from one server. You get the point? So you can correlate events from many servers and bring them together. So it's like what Sven said, that's a really good point. Event correlation. Because an event can be going on one server and it's being influenced by an event going on another server. But if you have separate event logs, it'll be difficult to find that out. You get the point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like one really good reason. And I know like in my current environment, that's one of the reasons why we use it. So if I want to say, I want to find out, like you said, how many servers have had this error 519 in the past 1 hour, I can just go and write a syntax and say, show servers that have had error 519. Enter, and it will list all those for me. So rather than me going to server one is event 519 on you, server two is event 519 on to you, server three is event 519 on you, I have a central place where I can just basically do a quick search through for all the events in my environment. So this is really, really useful from a security perspective, from a troubleshooting perspective. It's really, really useful to have like a central event view, event log. So yeah, so you have your collector. So it's not your domain controller, it's just a server that you've dedicated to be collecting events from other servers. So this server, you have to add it to the event log readers on the computers that is going to be collecting event from. Because we said there are two types of subscription, right? We said there's collector initiated. So in other words, this collector will go talk to this forwarder and say, do you have any events that you want to transfer from to me? And as it's doing that, it must be able to read the event on this server, right? So that's why it needs to be a member of this group, because it must be able to read the events that are going on this server. I'm not sure if that is clear.
Okay, now I think I'm getting it now.
Yeah. So it's basically you have a client and server architecture. The client is the forwarder. It's the servers that the events are happening on. The collector is the server. It's the server that will be collecting all the other event logs from all the other servers. The communication between the forwarder and the collector is HTTP and HTTPS on Microsoft. It's syslog protocol on Linux and all that. But on Microsoft, doesn't support syslog inbuilt into it, so it's HTTP and HTTPS. And on the collector server, you have to configure two things. You have first of all have to enable the Windows Event Collector service. That's number one thing. Number two thing is you have to add it to the event log readers. And a good point that Sven brought up is that if it's a domain controller, this is not a local group. This is a domain group that you have to add it to. So after you've done that, then the forwarders, you have to configure something on them. First thing you have to do is you have to start a service also. You have to start the WinRM service, because this is the service that will be communicating with the Windows Event Collector service on this machine. So if I go back on this machine here and we go under services, you see another service called Windows Remote Management. It said the Windows Remote Management Service implements the WS management protocols for remote management. It's a standard web services protocol used for remote software and hardware management. It listens on the network for MS management requests and processes them. blah blah blah. Then down here it says when RM messages use HTTP and HTTPS as transports, but it does not depend on IIS. So it doesn't actually install IIS. It only uses HTTP and HTTPS as transports. So that's the client service. On the server service, you have the Windows Event Collector service. So you have to enable both. And the other thing that you have to do is you have to create a subscription. So you have to create a subscription in this sense. Let's go back to this one. Let's go back to our whiteboard. How will this server, if you want to use forwarder initiated, how will this server know where to send, the event to? It must have a way to know. If you're not using collector initiated, it must have a way to know um, how to how to sorry, where to put the event or where to send those events to. And the way that you have to do is you have to configure group policy. So you can either use local group policy or domain group policy. And basically what you're configuring in the group policy, think of it as your W source server. So what you're basically doing is you're configuring, this is the location of my collector. It's the same way that you're configuring, this is the location of my W source server. So under that policy, if you go here, let's bring up group policy here. Let's say this is the client. Let's go policy, group policy management. Let's say we want to configure this one for all the servers in an OU, which is typically what you do in an environment. You want to configure it for all the servers in your OU and all that. So let's say new group policy. Let's say collector, event collector. Let's say okay. And I'm not sure if Microsoft will ask you questions on this, but they discussed it heavily under 7411. So it's something to, yeah, maybe you know. I think you may get like maybe a question or two on this, but okay, let's go under group policy and let's edit our group policy. But at least if they bring up the question, it'll be straightforward for you. Because at least just remember the things you have to enable on the client and the things you have to do on the server. I think it's normally under administrative templates. Under administrative templates, under Windows components, yeah, and we have event forwarding. So administrative templates. So let's write that down in our whiteboard. So configure group policy to specify the collector, and you do that under computer configuration. And I need to expand this one. Yeah, let me just write it there. So computer configuration under admin templates, and after under admin templates you have Windows components, and then you have event forwarding. So that's what you configure. So and under that, what you see is configure target subscription manager. So that's basically where you say, hey client, this is the server that you'll be sending your event to, and you just go this one. And this is the syntax. The syntax is down here. Server equals to HTTP. So in our own case, we can say server equals to HTTP log server 1, and we're done. And okay, and we're done. If you're using the special port, you have to be typing out the special port. But if not, if you're just using the default, so server equals to HTTP or HTTPS, whatever you're using, log server 1, and click OK. So from then on, the client know this is the server that I'm forwarding my event to. And then those events, you find them here under forwarded event. I'm not sure if that is clear. Is that clear at all?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's clear, but I have one question.
Carry on, Taiwo.
Yeah, the forwarder side is clear, but
Yeah. Yeah, carry on.
sorry, the collector side. It's no, it's the collector side.
Yeah.
You know, you said the first step is you need to enable Windows collector services.
Yeah.
Is it possible to enable this in like maybe through group policy or something?
Easiest way
But
to do
let's say
it.
you have like 200
Yeah.
workstations.
Because this one, remember that event collector service, you're only doing it on how many computers? On one.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Because this
But
one is only
is
on the
it possible
collector.
to have multiple
Collectors, then you have to
like
do it on multiple, yeah. But normally you typically probably have maybe one or two or three or four, depending on how big you are. You can have maybe 10 collectors, but that's not as much as the servers because now you have to start this service, start the WinRM service on all the servers that you want to be forwarding events to this. So it is true that you can do this one via group policy or something, or the other. There's a particular command that you can even use to script it. So the command is winrm quick config. So these are the things that you should notice. So let me write this down because you may get questions on this. WC. So to enable the event collector service, you can use W Windows Event Collector util QC. You can use that to quickly enable it. So if I go on this server now, look at this. Look at this one, Birmingham DC1. Let's see Windows Event Collector Service. I think I mistakenly started it now when I was clicking subscription. So I think I must have started. Yeah, I mistakenly started it. But let me stop it. So Windows Event Collector Service. So I've stopped it. Windows Remote Management, which is the client side, right? Let me stop this. So if I go, yeah, and I just go WEC util. So if I'm on the server, quick config. So the only thing that that command is going to do is it's going to go Windows Event Collector Service. It will enable it and set it to automatic delayed start. So that's the only thing it will do. So you can use that to make it quicker. And then if I press enter with that, so what that should do is that it says, are you sure you want to change this to yes? I say, yep, I want to do that. And after that, if I go and refresh this one now, the Windows Event Collector service should be running. And if this startup type is set to anything else, it will change it to automatic delayed start. That's on the server. On the client side, if I go and run winrm quick config, it will do a similar thing to this one. But this is what it will do. This has to be run on all the clients that will be forwarding event. So what this one will do is there's this service called Windows Remote Management. If this service is not started, it will start it. That's number one thing it will do. Number two thing it will do is this, is there are certain ports that need to be opened for this communication, right? Because the client has to communicate with the server on certain ports, right? So those ports no need to be open. But what Microsoft has done is they've already grouped all of this together. So they've grouped them together. So they have this thing called the concept of firewall groups. So it will enable the Windows Remote Management Firewall group. So if I go under advanced settings here, I really hope we're not boring. I hope this is not getting boring. I hope,
no,
I hope it's not getting too boring, guys. So if I go under inbound rules, you see a group of so let's go. Yep. So if you go under group and you keep scrolling down, you see a group called Windows Remote Management. If that firewall group is disabled, this one, HTTP in and HTTP in, Windows Remote Management Group. So if this group of firewall rules are disabled, that command will enable them. So these two. So actually, let me go and stop this one. Let me go and stop. Let me go and disable them. Disable rule and disable the other rule. And then go and run that other command, which is, what's the other command again for the client?
winner quick config or something.
Yep, winrm. Um, So what that would do is, number one, it will enable the service. It said, are you sure you want to start the WinRM service? Yes, I want to start it. So that's the first thing it will do. Second thing it will do is enable the WinRM firewall exception. Are you sure you want to enable it? Yes, I'm sure I want to enable it. And that's the two things that it's going to do. So if I go back here and refresh this, the WinRM firewall rule group, you can see that they're enabled now, right? And the
Yeah.
other thing you find out is that the WinRM service, if I refresh this, should now be running again. So that's for the client side. Is that clear at all?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
clear.
So just
Very
watch
clear.
out for those two in the exam. Yep. So that's basically like the whole concept of, so it's Microsoft answer to syslog. The other question that someone must be thinking is that, but what if I already have syslog in my environment? Does that mean I can't use syslog on Windows machine? Yes, you can, but you have to install a third-party syslog agent on your Windows servers so that you can communicate with your syslog server. But Windows servers by default don't support syslog. I know one of these days they will start supporting syslog, but not yet. Yeah. Okay. So that's it for like the event viewer. I'm not sure like let's see if there's anything else on the module topic that they want us to discuss in terms of event viewer. So let's see. No, no, no. Okay. So the other one is data collector set from Performance Monitor. Does anyone understand data collect? I think Zen understands this because Zen was talking about this. So Zen, do you want to guide us through data collector set in Performance Monitor?
Yeah, just go ahead, guys. I'm actually on the middle of a ticket.
Okay.
I apologize.
No problems, no problems, man. Sven, what about you? Like, when data collector set, do you have a good understanding of it? I'm not sure we have Sven there again anymore. I'm not sure we have Sven there anymore. Okay. Yeah, so this is the next one that Microsoft wants us to understand in terms of like the performance monitor and data collector set. What's Zen?
I'm back. Sorry,
No,
just
no problem.
your window disappeared.
No, no problem. Sorry about
So I
that.
wasn't able to unmute. Oh, well, yes, I did a little bit with data collection.
Yeah,
sets.
please guide us
I
through.
think.
Walk us through it. Yeah.
So I think Zen already defined one data collector set.
Mhm.
He called it. Perhaps we can start with performance monitor, because the performance monitor just gives you like a live view on the system or so. But when you say, okay, I want to look at the processor time like from 3 a.m. to 4 a.m., it would be a better idea to just create a data collector set.
Yeah.
So new data collector set. Okay, like processor time or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, then it asks you where to store. I think we can just let this path. It's okay. You can run it as a different user. This, and when you say start this collector set now, it should start. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay, then yeah, we just created the user-defined data collector set. It's over here, and it's actually running. And I think you should stop it somewhere. Yeah, when you stop it here, it should be this one in the reports.
Yeah.
And there you can see the data it has collected over time.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is basically, or in a nutshell, the data collector set. But you can also do a lot of other stuff with it. This is just a basic idea.
Is there a way to know, like, let's say, if I want to gather information about memory, this is the things that I should pick out, because there's a lot of things that we can collect data on.
Of course. So this was just a processor time, right?
Yeah.
And you can also add another counter from this computer. There are a lot of counters. So you set memory. Is it under memory? Yeah, it should be under memory. Okay. So, like, what do you want?
Yeah, okay. So that's what I'm thinking. So basically, one has
Yeah,
to try to understand what all this does to
yeah,
be able
yeah.
to know the right one to select.
Yeah, yeah, perhaps we can add a lot of stuff here.
Yeah,
Just for a demo.
yeah,
Okay, so we got a lot of stuff here.
mhm,
And what I found especially useful when I was doing this was first of all, you can go into the properties,
mhm,
and where's this wrapping should be. This is useful when you switch it to scroll.
mhm,
Okay, and when you go through the different counters, you can also highlight the one counter you are looking at.
mhm.
And if you switch through the counters, it's easier for you to see which
Oh,
counter you
okay.
are looking at.
Yep.
So this can be very useful.
Mhm,
And also, you can switch over here from line to histogram, but I don't think it's so useful. But what can be useful is a report,
mhm,
because there you get the actual numbers of the
mhm.
different counters.
Yep.
I found it sometimes very, very difficult when I'm looking at this line diagram to
Mhm,
know what these numbers are all about, because they are somehow scaled between 0 and 100.
mhm.
This can be very confusing,
Yep.
but you can go to one counter, to
Mhm.
properties,
Yep.
and you can change the scale.
Mhm.
Um, and then the numbers are a little bit easier to understand.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Um, I think that's everything under the performance monitor I can think about. There are also some questions I got.
Yep.
So when you are here,
Mm,
the data collector set,
yep.
you can also create one from templates. Is okay,
Mhm.
but this guy's here. So I think what we did was data collector sets based on performance counters,
Yep.
right? This should be what we just did was this one.
Mhm.
And there's also, this is the stuff I'm just reading, it's just event trace data.
Yep.
Um, and I'm not quite sure what this guy is doing. There are also a lot of providers, and you can select, but this is the stuff I'm just reading about.
Yep.
Um, yeah, this is what you can also do. What I tried is you can add a performance counter a lot,
Mhm.
and there you can say, for example, when the processor time is above 1% or so,
Yep.
you can tell the data collector set to write
Mhm.
an event into the event log, in the
Ah.
application log, but it's actually not it's not under application.
Mhm.
It's somewhere hidden under Microsoft. Yeah, it's
Yep.
somewhere hidden here, Microsoft Windows,
Mhm.
and then I have to look it up. It's somewhere down there, because first of all I tried to look at the application log,
Mhm.
but actually it's not in the application log. It's somewhere else.
Ah, okay.
I know the spot. Wait a second.
Yeah, carry on. Sorry. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, yeah. I just have to look into my emails, because I was just telling a colleague about this today.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Mhm.
Oh well, I will find it later, and I will post it into the chat window.
Yeah.
So, where's the data collector set again?
Yeah. Yeah. I think go on.
I think it's lost. Okay. So, okay, like processor, all instances. Okay, we can add this guy.
Mhm.
Okay, alert when above 1. Okay.
Yep.
Then start the data collector set now. Okay, finished. So, where is it? That should be this one.
Mhm.
Okay. and we can stop this guy, and if I think we can go to the properties. Okay, and there's an action alert. Okay, and there you can mark this one, log an entry into the application event log.
Yep.
And then we should select the new data collector set. Alert task. Okay, you can also run task or something like that. Okay. So okay. So now we should start it again.
Yep.
And then stop it again, and now we should have something into the in the event log.
Yeah.
But okay, but it's not in the application. It has to be somewhere down there.
If you refresh the application log.
No. You will find it somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah, but just send it to a colleague. So wait a second, it's in my other postbox. Application logs, Microsoft Windows diagnosis PLA operational. It should be the spot. Yeah, it should be somewhere there.
Application services. Okay, Microsoft Windows diagnosis PLA operational. Nice.
Diagnosis PLA, right?
Yeah.
And then it should be under operational. So this is the spot where all these logs are collected. So new data collection has stopped.
Okay. Yeah.
Perhaps we didn't hit any thresholds. But normally you would find any other information there. Just tried it today and it worked.
Yeah. Nice one. Nice information. Very nice information. Yeah. So that was really useful. So yeah, take note of that in the in the chat window. You have to drill down to look for it. Yeah.
Okay, that's there's a lot of other stuff, but especially this guy here, this wait a second, this new data collector set, manually next, this guy here and this guy. I don't know what these guys are doing. I don't know at the moment.
System configuration information. Yeah. What about Zane? Any ideas? Like in terms of what event trace data and system configuration information does?
What's the difference you mean by event trace data and system configuration?
Yeah, what do they do? Like we're trying to figure out what they do.
Performance counter event trace data. I'm not sure 100%, but based on my, if I do recall properly, the event trace data, it's specifically for specific event that you kind of add. Let me see. Hold on.
Yeah, no problems.
Sorry, you have something personal over there.
No, I'll just take it away. I think I'm logged into.
I don't want to look at it. You just put it this way.
I'll close it. I think it's because I'm logged into something on this server.
Yeah.
Yep, put it away.
Best way to learn is to.
Yep. So let's see, event trace provider.
So yeah, it just I got the idea now. So what this event trace data is, it just gives you certain providers. What does that mean? Is like certain checks. Like for example, when you go back to event viewer here, and then as you can see, what is this? Yeah, Windows and Mac. This sucks. Here we go. There you go. Sorry guys, there is
No,
like
no, no problems. No problems, my try. You can close all that.
so it goes by name, but this is really weird. Keyword. I am not 100% sure. It's been a while.
Yep.
So it looks like if you add the provider Active Directory not logon
Mhm.
and then the property of it, which is the value, so because that's a hexadecimal, you might want to change it to see what the filter does. If
Yep.
it's 0x0, which is no, or 0x1, which is going to be true. So
Mhm.
you might want to check that part. I don't know. Best thing we can do is look at the TechNet. It's the
Yep. Yep. So I think
list.
this one we still need to study this one more to try to understand what it means. Service then I don't so have that much detailed knowledge about this to understand it clearly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not intuitive. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I thought it was like you're just gonna click on it, look at it a little bit, and then you can link it to something else
Yeah.
you had before, but it doesn't
Yeah.
seem like that at all.
Yeah.
Seems like totally
Yeah. I don't know
different
problems. Yeah.
data. I'm looking at the TechNet right now,
Once.
reading it.
Yeah. Nice one. And I think
I
yeah.
will post it on the chat.
Yep. No, thanks for that. I think that's about it for I mean, the last one I wanted to discuss for today, we probably won't be able to go into it because our time has already hit. But the last one was about advanced file auditing, which ties into if we have set up anything we'll set up on auditing, we'll find in the security log. But the main thing to me, the main thing to note is that if you want to set up folder auditing or file auditing or something like that on Windows servers, there are two places to set it up. So you can set it up in one place. You have to set it up in two places for it to work. Number one is you have to set it up in group policy, either local policy or domain group policy. And number two is you have to set it up under the folder itself. So you have to set it up in group policy by going to group policy. Let's see, is it under computer management or is it, let's see, um, Windows settings. So Windows settings, yeah, security settings, and this one, advanced audit policy configuration. So these are the places where we set up our audit policy. So here we can set up account log on and log off policies, you know, account management policies, object access if you want to set it up for a folder access or something like that. So if you want to set it up for a folder or file access, you have to enable it here first of all. Yeah. And then after enabling it, you have to go under the folder itself, and then you have to enable, let's look for a proper folder. Let's look for the C drive. Let's see if we can. And then you have to go under advanced, and then you have to enable auditing here also, and select what exactly you want to audit, and would you want to audit on things like that, and audit that here. So those are the two places. If you want to set up advanced folder auditing, those are the two places that you have to enable it in. Group policy and under the properties of the folder itself. and then that will give you object access auditing or whatever audits that you want to set up. So I think that'll be it for today, guys. Nice hanging out with you guys. And I really learned a lot, and I'm sure that we all learned a lot and stuff like that. So that's really, really helpful. Yeah, carry on, Taiwo.
No, yeah, I mean, I really learned a lot. I mean, like, I've I've not actually used this apart from the main event viewer checking application logs.
Yeah.
I've not actually used those data collector sets before, so
Yeah.
it gives me something to read about this
Yeah.
week. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very
Be
good.
open.
Thanks, guys,
No, no
for
problems, man.
everything.
Thanks to everybody. Really appreciate it. So
Yeah.
next, I think next week, I think we've got um network services and access. So that will be DNS zones, DNS records, VPN, and routing. So that's the topics that we'll be studying for next week and we'll be discussing next Sunday, same time. So
Okay.
that'll be useful to learn more about DNS zones, learn more about DNS records, and then more about VPN and routing.
Well,
VPN and routing.
Yeah, from
That's
my
a fun topic.
VPN and routing from Microsoft perspective, believe me. I was trying to set up radios. I was like, doing this Cisco lab, and I was like, yeah, let's set up some Microsoft radio server. Believe me. Has anybody ever configured Microsoft radio server, right? Has anyone ever done that before?
No,
Yeah,
I
we
used
use
to.
like my job. We use radio server.
No, just let me tell you, it's not straightforward, right?
No, it's not straightforward, but we have like a search of an internal documentation.
Yeah.
The guy that did it before, so he took screenshot of it. So it was like
Yeah,
click,
yeah. Believe me, it's not straightforward at all. It's
It
not. It is just. It's a. To me, I think it's a mess. I think they can make it simpler than that. It's just a mess.
I think we use it at my place, but
Yeah.
I think you can use it for Wi-Fi or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, I mean that's what you use it for. So basically, radios is supposed to be something you can set up where you have all this your network equipment, but instead of people logging in with a local account, they can authenticate with your Active Directory, using the radio server that links up to your Active Directory, and then that authenticates them, and then they can use all these other network devices and all that. But it's just not straightforward on Microsoft server. I mean, even if you can, I mean, on the server, if you go to it and just you have to install the network policy server role, and then you see the amount of options that are available. It's just crazy, like it's just crazy. But yeah, that's part of the things that we'll discuss next week when we're discussing VPN and routing and all that. Microsoft Network Policy Server. That'll be fun.
okay.
Yeah. So so see you guys next week. Have a
Yeah.
wonderful
See you next week,
time.
guys.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.